From this decayed form into Mumra, the ever-living!
Welcome back to Marvelous Videos. I'm Rylan, and today we will be exploring 12 of the best Thundercats episodes from the 2011 Superior Reboot. Those who grew up in the 80s know just how big the Thundercats phenomenon was. It was one of the finest animated shows on TV, and in 2011, a reboot of this original TV series was launched. One of the great things about the show was the beautiful blend of Western animation and Japanese anime, and visually, it was simply stunning. Although it is based on the characters seen in the 1980s TV series, many things have changed since the show is certainly a lot darker than before. Many people did not warm up to the idea of this show because they thought that the makers were taking it a little too seriously. However, for us, this show is right up there with the Batman animated series and 2003's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Unfortunately, after the first season of the show, Thundercats was not renewed immediately. It soon became clear that the series had been put on hiatus, and it had to end after a solitary brilliant season. In this video, we have picked up and explored some of the most interesting episodes in this amazing reboot. For those looking to binge watch any old show, this is a great place to start. Before we go into today's analysis, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small step for you, but for us, it definitely means a lot. Thanks. Now, on with the video.
You're always going to be second place.
The Sword of Omens, Episode 1 of Season 1. The season starts with Liono, the prince, always trying to sneak out of the palace to explore the city. He watches a fight unfold on the streets, and he decides to intervene. A helpless dog was being cornered by some alley cats, and Liono uses his impressive fighting skills to help the weak. But eventually, he starts to be outmatched, and is finally cornered. Suddenly, there's an unexpected help for him, and Chitara arrives.
Hello.
Hello there.
I'm sure the king would not be happy to learn his son was wrestling alley cats.
Liono reveals his reason for being there, and it turns out that he came to buy some technological things from a dealer and see for himself how they work. His excitement is cut short when he finds out that he is late for a ritual of initiation, and he leaves in a hurry.
Guardians of the Crown, bring forth the Sword of Omens.
Liono arrives late at the palace, and goes through an extensive ceremony that involves him being chosen by the Sword of Omens. He is supposed to be the next king of Thundera, and there seems to be some sort of celebratory ambiance.
Uh-oh. Catch!
However, he is disturbed by a vision when he sees a demonic entity with glowing red eyes. He is unsure if anybody else would believe his vision, and he cooks up a story that helps him to leave with Tigera. We learn that Liono's father, Claudius, is not impressed with his son. He feels that Liono is distracted easily, and he doesn't have the tenacity or determination yet. Later, Claudius welcomes a war hero, and one of his old friends, General Grun. They seem to be in the middle of some kind of war, and Claudius celebrates the brief victory. But there is some bad news as well, because General Panthro, a trusted soldier, has fallen in battle.
Kill us! No. I want to hear this. What do you mean?
We only attack to survive.
During this event, Liono tries to defend a couple of captured lizards, and tries to convince his father to release them. Once again, we see that Claudius was right when he thought that his son was too lenient and distracted.
Thunder! Thundercats!
Ancient Spirits of Evil, Season 1, Episode 2. The second episode reveals the sinister plans at work. It reveals some conspiracies being hatched, and we realize the true seriousness of the crisis in the kingdom. General Grun, the greatest general in the land, seems to have betrayed his king and joined the lizards. The very next day after the celebrations for his return, the lizards attack Thundera, and this time, they have managed to acquire technology that gives them an upper hand.
Quickly, behind the wall! Behind the wall!
Grun's betrayal seems to have helped them, and we get to know that Panthro is not dead. as we had learned before. In fact, he is being held hostage by the enemy. In this hour of crisis, Liono steps in to help, and his efforts allow Claudius to successfully rescue Panthro. But there is yet another twist in this tale. Panthro murders Claudius, and we are shocked to find out that he is really Mumra, the ancient enemy of the Thundercats.
But insects to the power of Mumra, the ever-living!
This powerful sorcerer and master of the dark forces disguised himself cleverly to trick the Thundercats. Liono, Tigera, Jaga, and Chitara are all captured, and it seems that this is the doom for the species. Not quite. Do you remember how Liono was kind to the lizard prisoners after the first episode and argued for their release? It seems that they know how to return the favor, and Liono is given a key hidden in his meal. This helps him escape from the confines of the prison, along with Tigera. But Jaga is still a prisoner of the Mumra, and the Dark Lord wants the stone and the Sword of Omens. Luckily, there is a curse that does not allow evil forces to touch the sword, and Jaga is being tortured to reveal a cure for the curse. Jaga, the wise old sorcerer, is the guardian of the Book of Omens, and he might know how to remove such curse. Liono and Tigera somehow rescue him just in time, and we learn that Chitara was one of Jaga's clerics. Liono uses a powerful sword to blast Mumra into the open, and the sun's rays weaken him.
Whatever questions remain, the answers are in the Book of Omens. Find it. Now go!
Jaga decides to sacrifice himself to help the others escape, and Liono, Tigera, and Chitara embark on a mission to find the Book of Omens for themselves. Song of the Peddlers, Season 1, Episode 4. By now, a lot of terrible incidences and losses have deterred the Thundercats. Liono has lost much of his confidence, and he seems to wonder if all the fight is actually for nothing. It looks like a lost war for the Thundercats, and the lizards keep advancing closer to their territory. They still put up a brave front and fight hard, but it all seems futile. A small army almost catches up with them and Liono, and the others hide in a thornbush forest. This is where they meet the Peddlers, a race of flower-like people.
Do you grow from seeds like us? What's that red crystal? How tall are you anyway? Why are you covered with hair? What kind of...
They have an extremely short lifespan, and still, they are highly optimistic towards life. We learn a little about their history, and it turns out that they have been inhabiting the forests since their ancestors were blown away by a mighty gust of wind. Liono is quite demotivated from the series of losses, and he meets a young boy from the Peddlers race. This boy, named Emmerich, dreams of being a hero like Liono and accompanies the Thundercats in their journey.
When I grow up, I want to be like you, Liono.
Enjoy your childhood.
But he seems to age very quickly, and Chitara finds out about their short lifespan. They don't live more than a day, but that is a complete lifetime for them. This doesn't worry them at all, and they live joyously till the very end. The Thundercats are following a map that leads them to the Cliff of Winds. Suddenly, they come under attack, as a group of lizards ambush them out of nowhere.
You were fools to try and outrun your fate.
Outrun this!
The Peddlers are grateful to them for helping them through their journey, and in return, they keep the lizards at bay for a while. It buys them enough time to win a short battle, and Slythe, the leader of the lizard men, is frustrated at the loss. He orders that the entire forest be burned down, and this creates an updraft that helps the Peddlers to ride it and escape. By now, Emmerich is a dying old man, but his optimism inspires Liono. He reminds the disappointed prince that life is not about death, but how we live before the end comes. This instills belief in Liono once again, and he leads the Thundercats to fight the lizards outside the forest. They fight valiantly, but the lizards still seem to have an upper hand over them. Panthro arrives just in time in his thunder tank and changes the course of the battle. The lizards and their war machines are dispatched, and Liono lives to fight another day.
What do you know of my father?
Only that I killed him.
Journey to the Tower of Omens, Season 1, Episode 6. We already saw in the first episode how the Thundercats were looking for the Book of Omens. This episode pushes them ahead in their mission, and we get to know a lot of the secrets about this magical book. There is also some clarity regarding the history of the Thundercats, and this episode makes things very interesting. For instance, Mum-Ra claims to be the original owner of the Eye of Thundera, the powerful stone inside the Sword of Omens. According to him, the Thundercats stole it from a while ago when the ancient Thundercats were helping him lead an assault on another world. The attack was intended to bring back an item called the War Stone, and later, this was called the Eye of Thundera, after being embedded within the sword.
Your so-called Eye of Thundera will be mine again. I've wrenched it from afar more.
In the meantime, the Thundercats reach the Tower of Omens, and they find out that it is a treacherous place. There are numerous obstacles that must be overcome if the Book of Omens is to be reached. The lizards have already failed at the task, and this frustrated Mum-Ra, who desperately wants to get his hands on the same. Thus, he decides to find it himself, and leaves in a sarcophagus tank that looks very much like Panthro's Thunder Tank. Slythe and his lizard army were just about to destroy Jaga when Mum-Ra intervened. He used the Dark Lantern to exploit Jaga's knowledge about the Tower of Omens. He reached the tower shortly after the Thundercats, but the bypassing approach made sure he did not have to go through the traps that the Thundercats had to face. On the other hand, Liono had discovered the actual entrance to the tower. As he tries to reach the top along with Tigra, Panthro holds Mum-Ra in an intense fight. However, once Mum-Ra takes to his more powerful form, Panthro is no match for him. He follows Liono to the top of the tower, and they are face to face at the top. They engage in a fierce fight, and Liono uses the sword to send out the cat signal. This brings an energized Cheetara, and she attacks Mum-Ra with all her might. But the supreme powers of Mum-Ra are soon on display, as he defeats both Cheetara and Liono. Just as Liono falls from the top, Jaga manages to break free and uses his last power to inflict several damages on Mum-Ra. The evil Dark Lord escapes, and the group mourns the loss of Jaga. A light floats to the top of the tower and lowers the book to the Thundercats. There is a shocking revelation to end this episode. When Liono opens the Book of Omens to read it, he realizes that the book that they were fighting for is actually empty.
Even if you had my power, you wouldn't know what to do with it.
Legacy, Season 1, Episode 7. After the shocking end of the 6th episode, we were all eager for the 7th. It opens with Liono and the others exploring the book further. Liono starts to wonder if the book involves some special technology that needs some sort of power. He continues to fiddle with the book, and all of a sudden, a shock of electricity from the book knocks him unconscious. A flare of energy wraps around his body, and he is drawn into the depths of a magical world.
You have entered a strange realm, Liono.
Here, he meets Jaga, who tells him that the laws of nature, as we know them, are different within the mythical book. Reality is manipulated here, and it has to be perceived differently. Liono is anxious if the book will reveal a method to defeat Mum-Ra for good, but Jaga doesn't have a clear answer for him. According to Jaga, the book has all the records of the past, and it will show answers if Liono lives through the events of the book. Jaga then uses his magical powers to send Liono into the past, and he lives alongside one of his ancestors, named Leo. There is a catch in all of this. Unless Liono succeeds like his ancestor, he would lose all the information contained in the book. Liono is now in the body of his ancestor, Leo, and after traveling through space, he stands in a throne room. There are hints of extreme technological advancements all around, and he finds an image looking exactly like the Eye of Thundera. Basically, Leo was a commander working for Mum-Ra, and the latter was trying to get hold of the powerful stone to complete the Sword of Plundar. In the course of time, Liono comes to the realization that Leo was actually part of a rebellious group that was fighting to put an end to Mum-Ra's tyranny. Panthra joins in to help him, and they convince the rebel group that they would need the help of other animals as well, if Mum-Ra is to be defeated. Meanwhile, Mum-Ra's forces invade the small world, and sends Leo to retrieve the stone. Commander Leo uses the stone to embed it into the Sword of Omens, and it becomes the famous Eye of Thundera. He heads back to Mum-Ra, and prepares for a final battle. Mum-Ra starts to overwhelm Leo with his power and immortality, but eventually, Leo uses the power of the stone to overpower him. Liono, as Leo, uses the Armor of Omens and becomes strong enough to match Mum-Ra. He gets hold of the other stones in his possession, but just then, their spaceship drops into a planet. The impact brings Liono back to the magical world, where he meets Jaga, and he realizes that Mum-Ra is now after the stones, and this book would be a guide for the Thundercats on how to find them before the evil Lord does. But the stones cannot defeat Mum-Ra. Jaga tells Liono that he would have to unite all the animals against him if they were to have a chance. Now, Liono wakes up in the real world, and he tells the other Thundercats about the path ahead.
Power alone is rigid, but if you can bend with the wind, you'll never break!
The Duelist and the Drifter, Season 1, Episode 8. The adventures of the Thundercats continue, and Liono heads to a nearby town to get some supplies for them. Tigra and Panthro make an effort to rig the Book of Omens to the mighty Thunder Tank in the meantime. While heading to a nearby town, Liono meets a rabbit-like drifter, and he warns him to stay clear of the town.
Omens, and with it, I never lose.
Just like I said, take my advice and blow on out of here.
Apparently, the people there don't accept Thundurian currency after learning about the fate Thundera had met with. Liono is determined to have his way, and he heads into a brutal sword competition and wins using the Sword of Omens. However, he is challenged by a duelist, and this professional swordsman is famous for collecting the swords of his fallen opponents. Initially, Liono was hesitant to accept the challenge, but an insult to his father, Claudius, makes him angry.
He may be tough, but nothing the duelist has in his scabbard can beat the Sword of Omens.
He fights the duelist, who wields his finest sword, the Sword of Hatanzo. The Drifter tells Liono that the sword is invincible, but he fights nevertheless. Unfortunately, the duelist wins, and gets the Sword of Omens. The Drifter then helps Liono in forging a new sword, and Liono follows the duelist to challenge him again. This time, the condition is that the winner will get all the swords. If Liono loses, he would lose his life as well. When the duelist appears to seem too strong in terms of physical strength and a mighty sword, Liono remembers a piece of valuable advice from the Drifter. He uses his wisdom to disarm the duelist, and the Drifter affirms his faith in Liono as a valiant warrior who has what it takes to win. The duelist tries one last-ditch attack on Liono, but the Drifter knocks him down. He promises Liono that the swords would all be returned to their rightful owners. And finally, Liono gets to reunite with Panthro and Tigra. They have no idea about the challenges he has been through all this while. Between Brothers, Season 1, Episode 13. The story has moved forward quite a bit, and Liono and Tigra enter the astral plane to get hold of the Spirit Stone. Tigra, the elder adoptive brother of Liono, wants to keep the stone if he finds it first, but the astral plane has its own secrets. On entering, they witness memories from their childhood. In one such instance, Tigra had dared Liono to cross a log over a deep pit. He had broken the log on purpose, unknown to Liono, and they engage in a heated argument. The astral plane provides Tigra with another Sword of Omen, and his bitterness against Liono makes them fight. Deep inside his mind, he was bitter about losing the position of the king to his brother, and a duel begins.
Blocked me at every turn! You took the crown! You took her!
Meanwhile, other Thundercats and the elephants are prepared for an attack from the lizard army and Groon. Chitara fights the lizard forces, and Panthro takes on Groon single-handedly. Even the elephants join the fight, and the lizards are driven off. On the other hand, Liono and Tigra's fight worsens, and the latter pushes him into a pit. At this point, Tigra remembers the love for his brother, and promises never to betray him again. The brothers realize that all of this was a mere manipulation ploy by Mum-Ra, and just then, Mum-Ra attacks the duo. Liono discovers the true location of the stone that they had come for, and they use the power of the stone to fight Mum-Ra and defeat him. By this time, the astral plane has started to deteriorate, and they barely manage to escape. Their victory is being celebrated, but there are still some more twists to follow. Chitara meets Tigra and admits to her guilt for creating some differences between the two brothers. Chitara reveals that she always had Tigra in her heart, unknown to everyone. It was not Liono, but Tigra, whom she loved because of a flower that he had given to her a long time ago. She had lived off the petals all those years, and kept the heart of the flower with her at all times. They share a passionate kiss, and a shocked Liono watches from the distance.
Guess it's a good thing I can still smell ya.
New Alliances, Season 1, Episode 14. The episode begins with a bang, and we see Willy Kit and Willy Cat, the two Thunder Kittens, laying a trap for the lizards, and drawing them to Liono. The lizard men try to fire at him, but Liono has now the Spirit Stone, and he uses it to deflect the attack by creating an energy shield around him. Another one of the attacks is deflected using the Sword of Omens, and finally, when the lizard men try to attack Liono, they are knocked by Cheetara. All the lizard men are captured, but Liono gives them a choice. He thinks that they all know about the horrible life of fighting for Mumm-Ra, and so they can either go back to their families or return to the battlefield. The lizards choose their families and leave their weapons behind. Tigera is not too happy with his brother's decision. He feels that such acts of kindness would do them no good. The possession of the Spirit Stone had already caused chaos and fear among the lizard army, and such forgiving gestures were unnecessary. Cheetara kisses Tigera for protecting her during the fight, and Liono seems to be happy for them. They all head back to check on Panthro, who is still recovering from a nasty injury. We are taken to the insides of the Black Pyramid, and Mumm-Ra is furious with Slythe for the losses that his troops have incurred. He wants Slythe to free Atticus and Canar, two wretched souls who are currently in captivity. After some intense fights, he manages to free them, and the three generals now command the troops.
The lizard army will understand there are consequences for betraying Mumm-Ra.
The ones who deserted the army are being punished, and Liono catches a sight of the proceedings. He decides to help the tortured lizards, even though his brother and Cheetara protest. Eventually, they are all engaged in battle, with Atticus, Canar, and Slythe. Tigera is overpowered and tied up, and they threaten to kill him if the Thundercats don't surrender. Caught in a soup, they are cornered, and their captors are about to finish them off, when Panthro arrives in his modified Thunder Tank. Atticus, Canar, and Slythe are knocked out, and the Thundercats manage to escape. However, Liono knows that Mumm-Ra's forces will now be more powerful with their presence. Panthro assures him that if they work together, they can overcome any hurdle.
For any one of us.
So, you want to do this the hard way?
Absolutely.
Trials of Liono, Season 1, Episodes 15 and 16. The Book of Omens guides Liono up a tall cliff, and he makes his fellow Thundercats obey the orders. But the position is vulnerable, and they are attacked by Slythe and the others. Slythe gets the sword, and Liono is pushed off the cliff and into the river by Atticus and Canar. He is trapped by some boulders and drowns. Liono now enters the spirit world, and he meets Jago once again. He learns that the Spirit Stone has decided to give him a second chance, because he is worthy, but he must prove his credentials by passing a few trials. Once he accepts, he is immediately drawn into the first trial, where two spirits appear and take the form of the Wily twins. In order to succeed, Liono has to steal a key from them, and he uses his sense of smell to detect the original ones after the spirits create infinite holograms to confuse him. After passing this, he is headed for another test, and he has to race against a spirit disguised as Cheetara. He finds a flying creature, and just as he is about to lose, he flies to the target, beating Cheetara. Back in the land of the living, Tigera is the new ruler in the absence of Liono. As Slythe and the others fall back with the Sword of Omens, he vows to get it back.
This isn't over yet. We're getting that sword back.
All the surviving Thundercats plan to attack the pyramid of Mumm-Ra, and Liono must pass a test of strength. His task is to fight Panthro and knock him out of a ring within a specified time limit. Liono uses his strength to force Panthro out of the ring, but he doesn't succeed. This is when he remembers that he is a king and simply orders Panthro to step out, and he obeys. His final trial is against Tigera, and he loses control over his emotions after being taunted by a fake Tigera. He loses out to the fake Tigera, and his second chance at life falls at stake. All this while, the Thundercats reach Mumm-Ra, who is trying to extract the stone from the Sword of Omens.
Keep them from the the sword!
Tigra attacks, and the magic spells of Mum-Ra are enough to detain all of the attackers. When Jaga tells Liono about his brother's failure and how Mum-Ra got the Sword of Omens, he requests for a chance to set things right. The Spirit Stone can return him to his body, but he would have to wait until sunrise to stop Mum-Ra and save the Thundercats. Now, Liono heads to the pyramid for the final showdown. He tricks Kanar, Slythe, and Atticus into a cell and frees the other Thundercats. He fights Mum-Ra using the power of the Spirit Stone and even reclaims the Sword of Omens. Mum-Ra is now weakened, and all the Thundercats can flee to safety. However, now that the sun is about to rise, Liono must go. At this moment, Jaga's spirit appears and reveals that the test was not just of his skills, but also of his heart. Liono succeeded, and thus he would have his life back.
And you?
I'm just getting started.
Curse of Rattler, Season 1, Episode 20. The notorious and evil Rattler is the dictator of the rats, and he once held the Sword of Plundar. In this episode, we see the Thundercats infiltrating a mine shaft that is full of fellow cats. They are being forced to look for the Sword of Plundar. Liono takes on Rattler, and Tigra and Cheetara look for the mighty sword.
The Sword of Plundar must be in there. There's an energy around it.
In the fight between the two, Liono emerges victorious, and the cats are freed. They are all asked to hide quickly in the ruins of Thundera. By this time, Tigra and Cheetara find the Sword of Plundar and are concerned about the sword falling into the hands of Mum-Ra, and they feel that the Tower of Omens would be the safest place for the sword to be hidden. Just as they are about to go ahead with their plans, Panthro points out to them their impending doom as the lizard army is already approaching them, and there seems to be no way out.
Here, kitty, kitty, kitty.
Birth of the Blades, Season 1, Episode 21. This episode gives us a brief history of the Sword of Plundar. We learn about its long association with Mum-Ra, and how he was the one who had forged the sword. It required a hefty price, and a star had to be destroyed to use all of its power to be put into the mighty blade. It demanded an unbelievable sacrifice, as well as billions of intelligent people had to be killed during the process. It now makes sense why Mum-Ra is after the sword. He created it after so much trouble, and it is supposed to grant him incredible powers.
It was so nice of you to light the way for us.
Now Mum-Ra arrives alongside the lizard army to take possession of his sword. The Thundercats engage them in a battle, but the Dark Lord would do just about anything to get his sword back. What Lies Above, Season 1, Episodes 25 and 26, Parts 1 and 2. The climactic episodes were simply outstanding, and provides a fitting end for the fans. In this episode, we see the Thundercats trying to get hold of a flying vessel. They found this at Soul Sever's lair, and it is supposed to take them wherever they have to go. Panthro is the confident pilot, but once the vessel is airbound, he realizes that something is wrong. He is terribly afraid of heights. Tigra takes over for the frightened Panthro, and they hover over Third Earth. Liono wonders if the unification of the kingdoms was still a possibility.
Your attack! No, those were warning shots.
They find the city of Avesta, and the region is ruled by an arrogant bird species and their leader, Voltaire. The Thundercats tell them about their cause of visit, but the bird creatures don't take them seriously. They even tell the birds about the possible threat of Mum-Ra, but all of it falls on deaf ears. Voltaire feels that all these complications with Mum-Ra and the Third Earth were not his problem, and it seems like a dead end negotiating with these creatures. This is when Tigra comes up with a bold proposal. It is a challenge that involves piloting a vessel better, and if the Thundercats win, they will get the Third Stone. If they lose, they would surrender both the Spirit Stone and the War Stone. Such a challenge hurts the pride of Voltaire, who feels that they are better pilots any day. However, Tigra wins the contest, despite the best efforts of Voltaire. Instead of gracefully accepting defeat, Voltaire has other plans. He has the entire group arrested, and he intends to clear off the trouble by morning.
Says we have to use the hall.
Eventually, Liono finds his way to the stone, but some startling discoveries follow soon thereafter. For instance, the stone has special powers that hold the city together, and everything would be destroyed without it. Liono doesn't have the heart to destroy lives and cities for the stone, and he backs down. However, an alarm goes off, and many other creatures surround the Thundercats. They are set to be dropped off Avesta, but Mum-Ra's attack comes just in time. The bird creatures are now convinced that the Thundercats weren't lying, and they decide to work together against the invading forces. Tigra and Voltaire engage the enemy in dogfights, and Panthro shoots cannons along with Palmyra to bring down the air forces of Mum-Ra. He offers Voltaire a chance to join him, and the latter agrees.
Have a look!
What coincidence? So do I.
After some vicious fighting, Palmyra gets a hold of the stone, but she hands it over to Mum-Ra instead in a shocking twist. Mum-Ra addresses her as his beloved, and the tech stone increases his strengths manifolds. Liono learns, a little too late, that Palmyra was a spy for the evil forces, and he is dejected. However, the season ends in hope, because we learn that the animals are starting to unite under Liono. Even the Avestans are grateful for the support, and the Sword of Omens shines brightly in the hands of Liono. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to send a like, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. For marvelous videos, I'm Rylan. Have a good one, and be safe.
Farewell, my king.